I think parent orientation is so nerve-wracking for teachers because it's exactly the opposite of what we signed up to do. We prefer talking to children, but for parent orientation, we got to talk to adults. So I'm going to explain to you how I prepare for my parent orientation. Parent orientation is where I'm giving information to parents about what the school year is going to look like, whereas Meet the Teachers, where students come in, they see what their classroom's like, they meet their teacher to calm some of those nerves. And because at parent orientation, I need to give very important information to parents, I ask that they don't bring their children with them. That way their attention can be on me. If they show up with their child, I'm not sending them home, but I do ask that they don't bring them. Although parent orientation makes me so nervous, it's so important because it's one of the days where you have almost all of your parents sitting in front of you and you know they have their attention. Whereas later on throughout the year, you're going to be making phone calls, you're going to be sending emails, you're going to be writing notes home in the homework binder, and sometimes you're never going to get a response. So this I see as my one chance to give out the most important information, and I try and keep it short and sweet. That way they're really getting the point of what I'm trying to say, because some of them I never know if I'm going to hear from them ever again. To prepare, I have a PowerPoint or a slideshow that I put up while I'm talking. That way there's just a visual and it gives them something else to pay attention to besides just me. And then I also have any forms that I need them to fill out, and then of course pens for them to fill them out with. So the forms that I need them to fill out and to turn in, I have them in one packet, and on the very front I have turn in before leaving. That way they don't walk out the door with them. It just has like a student info sheet where they fill out all the contact information and allergies and stuff like that. I know the office has them fill out something like this, but sometimes they never have it, or it's just not in the format that I need it in that's going to be most accessible for me when I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to call home right now. I don't want to be digging through some folder looking for their phone number. Then I have a parent survey where I ask them how often they check their email. That way I know if it's a viable form of communication for them. It's one of my favorite ways to communicate because I don't have to go make copies, and they can reply to it if they have questions instead of taking the time to write a note. And most of them have it on their phone, but of course some parents, they don't check their email. So that's what I have on here. I also have an at-home devices survey for them to tell me if their child has a tablet, a computer, or a smartphone that they can use for learning. And then I have an authorized pickup form that tells me how they're getting home and who they're allowed to go home with. So all of those into one packet. I don't put the forms out on the desk before I start talking. I wait until the end of my presentation because parents will be filling them out instead of paying attention to me. So in case they want to take notes, I give them a blank piece of paper while I give my presentation if they want to write stuff down. But in the handouts that I also have ready for them to take home, I have a summary of all the things I went over in the PowerPoint. So all the things that I want to take them to take home, which of course you have to include the things that the office gives you as well as in the forms that you need them to fill out. I have how to sign up for Remind, another one of my favorite ways to communicate. Then, like I said, a bullet point list of what I went over in parent orientation in case they need to review it. And then anything else, any other handouts that they can take home with them. And what I do is I grab my ugliest color of construction paper, or the construction paper color that we never use, and I fold it in half to make a little folder. This one I just have laying around at home, so it's cut. But anyways, you'd have a full piece. You fold it in half. I stick the papers inside, and then the morning of, because I'm not prepared, I'm running around with a Sharpie and writing take home on every single one of them. But if you're prepared, you might have like a label on there or something. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just get it done. Like I said, this is not going out on the desk. Before I give the presentation, I'm not handing it out until I'm done talking, or else you'll be saying the most important thing that you need all the parents to know, and then they won't be paying attention. You'll see them there shuffling through the papers and reading, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I just completely messed this up because nobody's listening to me. So nothing on the desk. besides the blank piece of paper and the pens. I also have an example of the homework binder that I show the parents. So just as I'm talking about that part in my presentation, I hold it up. It's one of the most important things in my classroom because it goes home every day and it needs to come back every day. And any important handouts go inside there, and anything that needs to be returned to school, field trip money, and all of that. So I want them to know what that looks like. So I have an example of it. Another thing that I have is a class list. That way when they show up, they know they're in the right room. I actually put my class list on the first slide of my PowerPoint presentation, but if for some reason you're not using a PowerPoint presentation or slideshow, I would have it on the door. That way when they show up, they can check and make sure their child's in that class and know that they're not in the wrong room. Or sometimes the office made a mistake and my class list is wrong, and then I can figure it out right then. Normally, you're going to have your children sitting in a desk arrangement that you carefully thought out, or maybe they're sitting in tables. I don't do that for parent orientation just because I already have parents sitting in kindergarten-sized chairs, so they're probably very uncomfortable. I spread all my desks out where they're all facing the front, old school style, how they tell you in college not to do it. That way there's enough room for everybody with their bigger adult bodies. And also in case two parents come, or I have had where the whole family comes, like grandma and grandpa are there because they're so excited. And so that way there's space for everybody in one spot. And then I also make sure I have some extra chairs in the back of the room or on the side. That way they can grab them and they can sit wherever they want, or they can bring them to the desk where the rest of their family is. Then on the day of, if I haven't finished all that stuff, I'm normally scrambling to do that. But the stuff, that's all stuff that I could have prepped ahead of time. So on the day of, I wait until the last minute to open my door because it's so awkward having these people that you don't know coming into your room, and there's too many of them for you to really get to know them at that point besides introducing yourself. So just a few minutes before parent orientation is going to begin, I open up my door, and sometimes I have some soft music playing. I'm standing by the door. I introduce myself, shake their hands as they come in, and tell them that they can have a seat wherever they want. Then I normally wait until a few minutes after parent orientation was supposed to begin because of course some parents, they don't know where the classroom is, they didn't know it was going to take so long to find a parking spot, or they're just the type of people that run late. So normally about 5 minutes after, then I start my presentation. It might seem like a great idea to have something on the desk for them to do while they're waiting for you to start, but don't do it. Like I said, they're going to be filling those things out or looking at them while you're giving your presentation. Then also the parents that show up 15 minutes late, they've already missed half your presentation, and then they're going to miss the second half of your presentation because they're going to be sitting there filling out forms. So put up with the awkwardness and just wait it out. And then 5 minutes after, I begin my presentation, and you can check that out in my next YouTube video. And I forgot, like and subscribe.